Breaking news. The EU has just slammed Elon Musk's X with a massive €120 million fine. But in the exact same moment, the EU pardoned China's TikTok. Now people are asking, is Europe scared of China? Or is the EU quietly trying to block free speech in Europe? Because think about it. Punish the American platform. Protect the Chinese one. Why this double standard? So let me ask you, is the EU being fair or unfair? And is this really an attack on free speech? Type fair or unfair in the comments.
Today, the Commission has issued a fine of €120 million to X for breaching the Digital Services Act. This is the first ever fine under the DSA. X has indeed breached its transparency obligation under the DSA. This includes X's blue check mark. It deceives users. Anyone can pay to obtain the verified status, and X does not meaningfully verify who is behind it. It also includes X advertising repository, which does not work properly, and X doesn't provide effective data access for researchers. Failure to comply with the non-compliance decision may lead to periodic penalty payments on top of today's fine. At the same time, we have adopted today and accepted TikTok's commitments to make its own advertising repository work. What does this show? Our objective is not a fine. If you engage constructively with the Commission, we settle cases. If you do not, we take action.
European Union's fine on Elon Musk's X platform has triggered a social media slugfest. Musk is now calling for the abolishment of the EU. He says that the move would allow governments to better represent their people. Earlier, the European Union fined Musk's X €120 million over its paid blue-tick badges. Brussels argues that the paid blue ticks can be deceptive, as the platform is not verifying the identity of the person behind the account. The EU says that this makes users vulnerable to scams. This triggered a sharp response from Musk. The social media platform X terminated the European Commission's ad account. They say the account was exploiting an ad feature to artificially boost its reach. Musk also called the EU fine an attack on free speech, and he launched a meme attack on the EU. A series of posts attacking the EU are posted and reposted on his X timeline. One of his posts said he's serious about abolishing the EU. He also reposted a meme that called the European bloc the Fourth Reich. And it's not just Musk. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio also lashed out at the EU. In a post on X, Rubio said, and I quote, "The European Commission's fine is not just an attack on X, it's an attack on all American tech platforms and the American people by foreign governments. The days of censoring Americans online is over." Moscow is also keeping a close eye on the matter. Kirill Dmitriev, who is the head of Russia's state investment fund and a close aide of Vladimir Putin, also jumped in. He pointed at a document outlining the national security strategy of the US. The document states that the continuation of present trends will make Europe unrecognizable in 20 years. Referring to NATO chief Mark Rutte's earlier comment, when he referred to President Trump as daddy, Dmitriev asked why the EU was attacking its daddy.
If you don't like it, you can always take your Nazi salutes and your masculine energy and go back home. To Musk, Zuckerberg and company, in Europe we have a market of millions of users that provide money to your companies. But we also love protecting our citizens and democracies by making laws. If you don't like it, you can always take your Nazi salutes and your masculine energy and go back home. Viva Europa, hoy más que nunca.
Free speech is in a free fall in Europe. There are two anti-free speech movements that have coalesced. One is in Europe, where it has laid waste to free speech. Germany, France, England. Free speech has been eviscerated. And also places like Canada. The U.S. anti-free speech movement began in higher education, then metastasized throughout the government. But this has all reached our shores now. The Berlin World Forum followed the remarks of Vice President Vance on free speech, and the EU was red hot. They gathered in Berlin, and it was the most anti-free speech gathering I've ever been part of. There's only two of us from the free speech community. And they are committed. And, you know, Hillary Clinton was there, and she really fueled the anger. I mean, she, when Twitter was purchased by Elon Musk, she called on the EU to use the infamous Digital Services Act, which is one of the most anti-free speech pieces of legislation in decades. And she called upon the EU to use the DSA to force the censorship of American citizens, force people like Musk to censor. It's an extraordinary act by someone who was once a presidential candidate in the United States. But they are committed to it. And after the World Forum, they further globalized this effort, and they are threatening companies like X with ruinous fines unless they
Facebook just removed 1.2 million accounts for so-called extremist content. Who decides what's extreme? Last week, the EU warned Elon Musk for simply chatting with Donald Trump online. Think about that. This is why the First Amendment exists, to protect speech that makes the powerful uncomfortable. Your rights aren't gifts from the government. They're yours because you're human. Speech, faith, press, assembly, self-defense. Every platform and algorithm is either protecting those rights or quietly eroding them. The Bill of Rights isn't just history. It's your daily shield against digital and political overreach.
Disclaimer. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. Afriscope TV does not promote hate, violence, or misinformation. All content is based on publicly available data and expert commentary. Viewers are encouraged to think critically and verify independently.